Before you buy a used camper or RV, there are a couple things you need to know to look for. Save yourself a lot of money and a lot of headache in the end. You can see the skirt on this is bent pretty badly. The stairs you can't see in the photo, but they're also bent pretty badly. So this was involved in a minor accident, probably pulling out of a campsite when they left the stairs down. Stairs fold up, so it's not really a problem. That skirt, it's bent, but we can bend that back, and that's also below the wood line. So the wood starts about where the bottom of this vertical support for the canopy is, for the awning. So the wood is above that. Below that, there's nothing under there anyway, so it's not a problem that's bent. Something that doesn't look too bad, but here, this corner got pulled away, probably in that same accident, and water's getting through, but it's actually not getting through here, although I'm sure it is. Where it's getting through is all the way up here. That very top piece of aluminum trim right there is actually the gutter. So that runs along the top edge, and it dumps all that water out right here on this back corner. So the water's actually getting through up there near the top and then follows the inside of this trim all the way down and has ruined the wood on the inside of the camper. That can be fixed. If you're gonna do it yourself, it's not too bad. A lot of these are framed out in 1.5 inch studs, 1.5 inch wide, not 3.5 wide, like a typical 2x4. They're usually 1 inch thick studs that are about 1.5 inches deep. So that's the thickness of the wall, 1.5 inches. Anyway, that's going to be a fairly expensive repair. If you're going to pay a repair guy, that's going to be about a probably $1,500, maybe $2,000 repair to take the trim off that corner and fix it properly on the inside and outside. We're going to fix this. We're going to go with a little bit of a cheaper repair on it, but it'll still hold up well, and I'll show you that when we get to it. Anyway, look out for corners, check your stairs, make sure that they're good, make sure that all your leveling jacks, that all of those will retract and come down. They can be replaced if they're damaged, but if you're going to be buying one of these, it'd be nice if the whole thing worked when you got it. So check those, make sure they all function. They're easy enough to repair if they're not welded on. Another thing is to make sure your whole system is winterized. This vent cover, and these are similar on most RVs and campers, that's your hot water heater. This one over here, again, this style, very similar on a lot of the units. This is going to be your refrigerator. Behind there is your 12 volt, your 120 volt, as well as your propane connection, if you have it, to your refrigerator. So make sure your refrigerator's working. Those are about, just the unit alone, a refrigerator's about $2,000, depending on which one you get. You'll want to check out the roof. I don't have a ladder on me right now to show you that. But again, all the trim, make sure that none of the trim is loose. If you grab it and kind of pull on it, make sure that it's screwed in well and that the wood behind it hasn't rotted out. While I'm thinking about it, on these gutters up here, they make a little kick out that'll kick the water out away from the trailer. Those are an excellent idea to put on. If you have electric jacks, which I think the vast majority now of fifth wheel and goosenecks are going to have these electric jacks, there's typically a panel under here, and that's where you're going to access the propane. Sorry for the jacks though. It's this little access panel over on the side, and there's your control to raise and lower the camper. This is going to run off battery power. If you're buying one of these used, the battery is typically going to be dead, but if you'll hook up the plug to a vehicle, see where they stuffed my plug. Well, I've got a 7-way plug here. If you hook that up to your vehicle, that should let you see if the jacks are going to function or not. It'll run off your truck power. Make sure your tires are good. I don't know how to read the date code on these, so I'm not going to show you that. But if you want to familiarize yourself with date codes on tires, these things have a finite lifespan, whether they're used or not. So they can have 100% tread, but also be 100% trash tire if they weren't ever used. So make sure you check the date codes and see if you're going to have to replace your tires. Those are usually $150 a tire for larger campers, less for smaller ones. Back here, just check out your windows. You can see on here, if I zoom in a little bit, that the butyl tape is completely weathered and dry rotted out of there. Not dry rotted, but it's dried out. So check your windows, make sure you're not leaking. This one does not appear to be leaking, even though it could definitely do with a reseal. And then if you go to pull your trim off here, which we're going to pull this corner trim, in order to get to the rot behind it. This middle piece here is actually a screw cover. So this is aluminum on either side, and that's a thin plastic screw cover. If you take these screws off down here, you should be able to pull that trim out the bottom. There's sometimes a screw on the roof as well that you have to remove, but then you can take this out, and if it breaks, don't worry about it. You don't really need it. It does help a little bit to protect those screws from water intrusion, but if you break it, it's not that big a deal. Over on this side, you can see here too, we actually didn't see this before if it was there, but the siding has come out from behind the trim. I think these RV companies, they could make this trim a 1/2 inch wider and solve most of these water intrusion issues. Just a 1/2 inch wider piece of trim there, and you wouldn't have water getting behind it like it does, because this overlaps by less than 1/4 inch on the metal. I'll show you over here. This video is getting longer than I hoped it was going to be, but that's only about 1/4 inch of actual coverage, and that's right here. There's places where it's probably less than that, but 1/4 inch is all you've got. And here where you've got these nails going through, it's maybe 1/8 inch where that seal used to be. So it's not doing anything at all to weatherproof those corners. It's just decorative. This particular one has, let's see if I can zoom back out here for you. This one has a slide out on it. Really, I don't like slides. They're one of the top places that leak. But you're gonna need to put your slide out, take a look at it, see if the roof is in bad shape. And sorry, my watch is hearing me talk, and it's trying to figure out what I'm asking it to do. Anyway, push your slide out, make sure that it works. If it doesn't, those can be very expensive repairs too. You're gonna spend a few $1,000s a lot of times repairing a slide, and a lot of times you'll have water intrusion here around the perimeter. This is your slide where you've got that piece of trim over there. So that's your slide out. This whole thing comes out a couple of feet. And a lot of times you get water in here that'll rot out. This one's in good shape, but check that out. And I would just say, if you find a lot of rot, don't think that you're gonna fix it easily and get a good deal on it. You can still get a good deal on a camper that's not in terrible shape. A lot of times you'll find one in better shape for the same price as the one that's in rough condition. And people that have maintained their trailers better, certainly you're gonna get a better product, obviously. People that let them go totally to trash, they don't know what they've got, they don't really care, and they're gonna sell you the piece of junk they got in front of them. So try to buy a good one that doesn't need too much. There's not too much to see back here. This is your power cord. I'm sure most of y'all already know that. Most campers, even the 50 amp, you can take them down from 50 amp service or 30 amp service with one of these adapter plugs here and get it down to 120 volt, 15 amp or 20 amp service. And that'll let you run most things here. This is a 30 amp camper here, but even on a 12 gauge cord, short 12 gauge cord, you can run the air conditioner, the furnace, every single thing off of a 15 or 20 amp plug. So just for testing purposes, you can hook it up to a small generator and run this if you don't have a generator that's got a 30 amp plug on it. That'll at least let you see if your air conditioner works, your refrigerator works, and those kind of things. Okay, I think we can step inside now. Well, it actually has one more expensive item. Your awning, if it's old, and this was a 2006, so if it's older than probably 5 or 7 years old, you're going to need to replace your awning more than likely. Even if it's never been used, it'll be rotted out on the top, faded out. Let's see if this is going to let us see inside here. So that awning is trash. Sorry, I heard footsteps and was trying to figure out where they're coming from. Here, I'm going to get some heat turned on in here. Maybe. There we go. Okay. Anyway, I don't recommend using buddy heaters for a permanent heat source, but since we don't have power to plug up to and the propane tank is empty, I'm using that to heat me up in here. But be careful, you can consume all your oxygen and then suffocate yourself, because that is combusting the air, including all the oxygen that's in the camper right now. So don't do it. You need to have a carbon monoxide sensor. Anyway, this whole corner back here is the one I was showing you that's loose on the back. A lot of times there's a thin plastic layer on top of the melamine, or the Luan rather. So there's a little thin layer of plastic wallpaper that covers up your plywood. So you may not realize just how bad the rot and deterioration is, because it's covered up by that little layer of plastic. So definitely feel around. These walls are going to be soft because of how thin they are, but if they feel super spongy, especially in the corners, that's something to watch out for. You probably have rot. We're gonna tear out what's bad, put in some new studs, and then we're gonna put bead board that comes over to about here and covers in the corner. That's how we're gonna repair that. Okay, I'm gonna move on because I realize this video is getting kind of long in the tooth. See if we can get some more light in here a little bit. Anyway, check out your slide. Make sure that your slide out doesn't sag too much. A lot of these are gonna have some sag. It's not a big deal, but check them for rot. Feel the floor. Sorry, I don't have any light inside of here. It's really dark here. You can see better on the camera than what I can see. Test your refrigerator. I'm not going to do that since it's really too dark for me to see anything. But make sure you're plugged up to your car battery or some kind of 12-volt power. Test your refrigerator. Make sure that it runs on 12 volt. If it's wintertime, you're not going to be able to test this appliance because it will not kick on if it's already reading a cold temperature inside. Now, you can heat up the thermostat wire if you want to and see if you can get it to kick on that way, but just by itself this unit will not kick on and cycle in the cold winter time if the unit is cold. So that may not be able to be tested unless it's warm outside and warm inside. Moving in to the master bedroom, I'm going to cut this here and start it